Welcome back to Red, White, and Green. I'm your host, Nathan Smith. Today we're talking about something deeply personal, and honestly, something I wish we didn't have to talk about as often as we do. What happens when treatment turns into a drug cocktail? This episode is called From Pills to Plants, and it's about a journey from swallowing 22 pills a day to taking 4, and finally feeling normal for the first time in decades. 22 pills a day. I want people to really hear that number, because that's not just a lot of meds. That's basically a full-time relationship with a pill organizer. It really is. It's alarms, refills, side effects, and more prescriptions to deal with the side effects. And if you're in the VA system or you've ever been around it, you've probably heard some version of this story. Before we get into how I got from 22 down to 4, I can paint the picture of what 22 felt like in daily life. Not just physically, but mentally as well. See, it was like I wasn't living life directly. I was living through layers, like everything was filtered. Some days I was too wired, some days I was too tired, some days, I didn't even know what me felt like, because I was always adjusting to medication changes and dealing with rebound effects, or trying to figure out whether my mood was my mood or my dosage. You see, that's the part people miss. It's not always I took a pill and I feel fine. It can be I took a pill and now I'm a different person and I'm also still not fine. I want to be careful here because medication can absolutely save lives. I'm not here to tell anyone to stop taking what they need. This is about the situation where the system keeps stacking prescriptions without stepping back and asking, is this actually helping this person return to life? So, you see, when I say drug cocktail, at least in the VA context, what do I mean? I mean, the pattern where you show up with real issues. Pain, anxiety, sleep, trauma. Things that veterans go through on a daily basis. But whatever it is, it seems like the fastest pathway in the VA, at least, is a new pill bottle. Then that bottle causes new problems, then you get another bottle. Then you get labeled as complicated because you're reacting to 6 different things at once. And it can feel like you're being managed instead of healed. Yes, managed. Stabilized, contained. And again, to be fair to individual clinicians, a lot of them do care. But the system is big, overloaded, built around protocols. It doesn't always have room for slow, personalized problem solving. Okay, so the turning point? When did I start thinking, I can't do this anymore? It wasn't one dramatic moment. It was more like waking up one day and realizing I'd been surviving, not even living, for many, many years. I'd look at the lineup, morning pills, afternoon pills, nighttime pills, and it felt like that was my identity. And I started asking myself a scary question. If I keep going like this, will I ever feel normal again? And that question is loaded because a lot of people, normal, well, feels like it got taken away a long time ago, right? Normal felt like a myth, but I wanted it back. Or at least I wanted something closer to it than what I had. So I started exploring alternatives. Let's talk about what alternatives means here. Because that can sound vague, or it can sound like you're replacing medicine with wishful thinking. And yeah, that's totally fair. For me, alternatives meant 2 things. 1, carefully reducing what wasn't truly necessary anymore, with the goal of getting back my baseline. 2, finding tools that actually help day to day. Tools I could feel working in my life, not just on a chart. And one of those tools ended up being cannabis. Yes, but here's the twist. I didn't use cannabis at all until August of 2023. And that surprises people because they assume if someone ends up using it, well, they've been using it forever. I'm not someone who grew up around it, and I didn't experiment with it either. It just wasn't part of my life. But then, you see, Minnesota legalized it, and suddenly there's this clear legal framework. And yes, that matters. It changed the entire equation for me because legality isn't just a technical detail, it affects safety, access, the stress level around it, everything. It really does. When it became legal, I could approach it like an adult making a health decision, not like someone sneaking around. And I started learning, slowly, cautiously, not trying to get blasted, trying to get better. What I was hoping it would help with? Well, I wanted relief without the fog. I wanted to sleep without feeling like, got hit by a truck the next morning. I wanted to lower the constant tension. And I wanted something that didn't require adding 3 more prescriptions just to balance it out. So, yeah, I tried it. What happens? Well, the best way I can describe it is this. I started to feel like I could inhabit my own body again. Like the volume got turned down on the stuff that was constantly screaming at me. Stress, pain, racing thoughts. And once that volume dropped, I could function. And that function is what allowed me to start reducing my pills. It gave me space. When you're constantly overwhelmed, every change feels impossible. But once I found something that steadied me, I could have real conversations about what was still needed and what wasn't. That's how I started moving from 22 down to 4. But I want to slow down here because someone listening right now might think, okay, I'm going to do that tomorrow. Well, this wasn't overnight. No, it was gradual. It was about paying attention. What's actually happening? What's just creating another problem? What's my quality of life like? And to be honest, it required advocating for myself in a way that I hadn't done before. You see, that part is huge because the VA system can be intimidating. And even outside the VA, medical systems can make people feel like they shouldn't ask questions, right? And if you're already tired, already anxious, already worn down, advocating can feel like, well, a job you don't have energy for. But I hit a point where I realized nobody's going to care about getting my life back as much as I do. Okay, so cannabis becomes part of my toolbox. But no, I didn't stop just there. I started growing. Yeah, and that's where the title From Pills to Plants really comes alive because it wasn't only about using cannabis. It was about shifting from a system where everything is prepackaged, prescribed, to something that involved learning, patience, and being involved in my own care. Let's talk about the practical reason first. I grow so I don't have to go to the dispensary. It keeps me supplied, gives me control over what I have on hand, and for me, it also removes part of the friction, driving, scheduling, all of that. But honestly, the bigger surprise, that was the therapeutic part. So what do I mean by therapeutic? Because some people hear growing and they think it's just a hobby. Well, it is a hobby, but it's more than that. Growing forces you to slow down. You pay attention. You check in. You problem solve. You learn to be patient. You can't rush a plant into being ready because you're having a bad week. That sounds like the opposite of the prescription cycle, which is often take this now, and if it doesn't work fast enough, well, we'll add something else. Yes, growing taught me consistency. It gave me a routine that felt calm instead of clinical. And I know this might sound weird, but there's something powerful about nurturing something alive when you've spent years and years feeling like you're just trying to make it through the day. Yes, so plants aren't just producing a product, they're producing a process. That's a perfect way to put it. The process is part of the medicine. Now, I also want to address the elephant in the room. Some listeners will be thinking, isn't cannabis just another drug? Well, it can be. If it's used mindlessly, anything can become another way to avoid life. But for me, I wasn't trying to replace one dependency with another. I was trying to reduce harm. I was trying to get my personality back, my energy back, my ability to be present. And the outcome matters. I'm sitting here saying I feel normal for the first time in decades. Yeah, that's hard to even say that now because it feels unreal. But I wake up and I feel like myself. Not perfect, not magically cured, but present. And when I say normal, I mean I can do basic things without everything feeling like a battle. What does a normal day look like now compared to then? Well, then my day revolved around symptoms and doses. Now, my day revolves around life. I still have challenges, I still have to take care of myself, but I'm not constantly negotiating the side effects. I'm not constantly adjusting to new pills. I have more consistency. And I'm at 4 pills today now. 4. And I'm not here to brag about a number, but I'm saying it because when you're buried under medications, you can start believing it's impossible to change. I want people to know it can change. If someone listening is currently stuck in that cocktail situation, especially in the VA, what would I tell them to do first? Well, first, don't make any big changes alone or abruptly. Safety first. Second, start tracking how you feel. Sleep, mood, pain, focus, energy. Not just good or bad, real notes. Third, ask a simple question at appointments. What is each medication for, and how will we know if it's still needed? That's one question can shift the entire conversation. That's a grounded approach. It's not rebellious, it's not anti-doctor, it's informed. And if cannabis is something you're considering, I'd say treat it the same way. Be intentional, be educated, understand legality, and understand your personal situation. This is not a one-size-fits-all situation. But my story is a real example of someone finding a path out. It's a path out of the fog, honestly, and a path back into life. I spent a long time thinking, well, I was broken beyond repair. Turns out, I was just over-medicated, overwhelmed, and under-supported in the ways that mattered. I look back at the person taking 22 pills a day, I tell myself, you're not weak. You're not weak for needing help, but you're allowed to want more than survival. You're allowed to ask for a better plan, and you're allowed to hope that you'll feel like yourself again. Well, that's a good place to land. And to anyone listening, if this hits close to home, just know you're not alone, and there are options worth exploring. Once again, I'm Nathan Smith. Thank you for joining me today. If you have questions, feel free to get a hold of me through my webpage at www.redwhiteandgreen.us. Until next time, I'm wishing you brighter days ahead. If this seems like an option for you, I hope you give it a shot.